Welcome back. Today we're taking a look at these two vintage clamp meters. When I say vintage, I mean they're back from the 80s. This is part of my father's tool collection that I've received some pieces from. Now, these are from TIF Instruments Incorporated out of Miami, Florida. I looked it up online. It seems like the company is still in business. They make a variety of HVAC meters, it looks like. I haven't come across any modern clamp meters, but alas, we have these two guys here. Now, some of these aren't in the best of shape, honestly. They do need to be cleaned up, and that's what we're going to try to do in this video. Now, we can see one is analog and the other one is digital. I did take a quick look at both of them just to see. But overall, they are in really good condition. There is an issue which I'll get into in just a moment here, but as you can see, it is in pretty good condition. I'll try to get a close-up here. What's nice about this is it has a voltage, an amperage, and an ohm testing mode. And out of the three modes, if you're in volts or amps, as listed here, you can see there's 1 through 5. Well, that's your range. So this is going to test anywhere from 1, obviously, through 5, either amps or volts, both in the same range. And then if you click this wheel, you can see it goes 5 to 25, 25 to 125, 100 to 500, and 250 to 1250. And again, that's either volts or amps. So it has a really wide range. And then also, if you go down all the way the other way, it'll actually just say, actually it's up all the way, I'm sorry. It just says ohms across the bottom. And there's another red scale here, and that would be the ohm scale. Now, the way this works is it is a clamp. So you would clamp this around the wire. So let's say you're testing the amperage of this wire. And I think you could do voltage the same way. I have to look at the manual again. But you would clamp it around there, and it would tell you down here, as long as it's in the ohm the voltage or amperage mode, how much amps you're working with. I think voltage, you actually have to use the included accessories, which are a lead, with a probe at the end of it, which does have a fuse in it. And there's actually a jack on the side here, which this plugs in. And then the other lead actually screws in up here. I'm pretty sure this is how you would check the voltage. I don't know if it would check amperage this way either. Like I said, I have to look at the manual. But you would use this to test 2 points, like if you were doing this wire, for example. You know, you get the idea. It's just like a regular meter at that point. But I thought it was kind of a neat design. Obviously, the other one's digital, so it's going to be the same layout to an extent. It does have the same accessories, but it is digital. And on here there's also some other items, like there's an ohms calibration knob, which I'm assuming you'd have to put some kind of a known resistance on here and then use this to get to that resistance on the scale. There's a range expander, which I understand allows more movement in the actual needle, so you can actually get a finer adjustment, a reading. And then surge lock would, when you hold that in, it's going to lock at the highest point, obviously. Now, like I said, it looks great from the outside, but on the inside, you can see the battery terminals are a little crusty. And it's got the white crust on it. It might not show up very well on camera, but it seems like they should be a little shinier, like this one here is kind of shinier. The rest are kind of dulled over, and there is this flaky kind of stuff on it. So I'm going to go ahead and clean those up. Also, I want you to see if I can poke around on the inside, see what it looks like. So I'm going to try to do a teardown. I gave it a quick look-see before and see if there was any way to get this apart, and I couldn't see it that I immediately saw. It was popped in the back here. There are actually two little pieces right here, the little clips. And this back would snap out, but it looks like it's just snapping from the front, and it hinges into the back, so the case must, clip in this way. So I have to actually take a look at that one, figure it out. Luckily, I do have the manual for this. It was stuffed in the box. They were actually swapped, but anyway, yeah, this is the manual. And this is the model 1250 I think it's actually called PP1250, so it's a TIF Instruments PP1250, and like it says, AC clamp on volt ohm amp meter. And the manual's in pretty good shape too. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and check this out. Now it says 4 AAA carbon zinc batteries, but I don't think I have carbon zinc here. I have alkaline or you know, another battery of similar composition. But I'll go ahead and check that out. And the manual's kind of cool. Sorry, I'm trying to get this on frame. And it shows you the fuse in here. And it's funny because the other TIF products mentions the model TIF 1000, which is what the other meter is. And this is actually, this other little book I showed in the beginning, this is actually the catalog, if you will, of the other models that they make. And this is actually falling apart. You can actually see there was some battery leakage onto this. It's all dried up over here. So let me slide this one out of the way and I'll get out the 1000 model. And this one's kind of neat looking. It's got that LED readout, the old school LED readout. And the same kind of peak lock and a hold button over here, I think. This one's got 3 terminals on the back marked volts, EXT, like how much I'm thinking extension, and then ohms. I have to figure out which, obviously, those work with. And then up here is the screw-in terminal for that long prong. It's not centered, it's more off to the side here. I should have noted that the other meter here has a screw that you can take the jaw off and change it to a different size jaw depending on the load you're trying to put on this. I understand they call it model 1250 because it goes up to 1250 amps or volts, which seems like an awful high load to put on this thing. I don't know, I'm sure you could test it, but man, I'd be kind of nervous myself personally. Not saying you couldn't do it, but it just makes me nervous, I guess. But lower voltages, I'm sure it's fine. And yeah, this is the other guy. Now the problem with this one, you're going to guess battery corrosion. This one is raunchy. It's not even that copper green. This is like aquamarine blue. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that off, or if this is just shot completely or not. Luckily this does have screw holes all over the place and I can get this apart, and it looks like I'm going to have to get this apart because I want to make sure that corrosion didn't leak through the board and affect any components on the other side. And the same goes with the other one. I didn't really point it out, but one of the wires comes off the back of these terminals over here, and it has that same kind of aquamarine blue to it, and I don't know if that was the original color of the wire or the wire actually corroded completely and turned that color. So I got to take both of these apart and check them out, and I'm gonna go do that right now because that's the kind of boring part, I guess. I would show it, but you know, it could take me an hour to get this thing apart, and I don't have the facilities to really show that time-lapse kind of thing. So I will have to just cut the camera recording and just do it. Here's the manual for this one. You can see there's more of that leakage. And actually, this is kind of a foreshadowing thing here. A lot of the meters we're going to be looking at in the next few videos have that problem. It was just honestly oversight on my dad's part. He just put these away years ago and just forgot there was batteries in them. And once the damage was done, it was already done. But he had so many of them, it was just one of those things like, oh, I don't really need them, they're just sitting there on the shelf, you know, we'll get to them when we get to them kind of thing. And it's unfortunate, you know, it just goes to show you, if you're not going to use the thing, take the batteries out of it. It was pretty raunchy. Even worse so than it looks now. Now this one does take AA's, the other one takes AA's. I'd imagine you would need more juice to run the display and everything in this one as opposed to the other one. So let me go ahead and break these down as best as I can, just so we can observe the interior of it and make sure there's no other damage. And we'll come back and I'll try to talk about how we're going to get these terminals clean. Alright, gave both of these a fighting chance to get into them. Unfortunately, the 1250 model, I'm not giving up on it now, but I'm having difficulties getting into it. It seems that the case is one of those one-way check valves, as I hear people call it, where they once it goes, it doesn't come undone. It seems like I can get it popped around all the edges here. There are no physical screws that I could find. There was one in the back here that you would use to take the jaw out to change that, but that didn't really give me any better results. Then there's one on this side over here, which is the hinge point for the other jaw, and that one, it's almost like it's threaded, it just keeps spinning. So I guess what I'll have to do is clean the terminals on here as is, as best as I can, throw some batteries in it and test it out and see if it works or not. The other one though, I did manage to get open, and this was actually pretty easy. There are 3 screws, one here, the other here, and then one on the top. And then once you take those out, the front just pops straight off. And it's really interesting in here. You can see there's a bodge job right here where they just put a couple resistors together, just kind of flapping in the breeze here. And there's another one there, which is kind of interesting. And this looks like it's a double-sided board. There's stuff going on the other side, obviously, where all the components are. And there's the, of course, the LED readout. This one was a lot easier, obviously, to get into. I didn't have to undo the other screws up here, but even if I tried to, they would just spin because there's a nut on the other side. But anyway, if I go ahead and take this screw out right here, we can get a further look inside. Maybe we can get a peek at the back of that battery case. All right, let's see what's inside. Oh, duct tape. That's weird. You see duct tape in a production piece like this. It's kind of neat how they bent the circuit board like that. There's actually a crack line along it, where it looks like they cracked it on one side and then filled it in with some kind of a glue. And this is all surface mount components. Yeah, right. This is all through-hole mount components. I'm sorry. No surface mount stuff here is what I should say. Not one piece. It's pretty interesting how they did this. There's all just your standard capacitors and a couple chips. This looks like the Westinghouse logo from what I can tell. And there's some handwritten stuff on that. And then the little tiny wires going up. Now I know this metal here, that laminated metal, kind of like what would be inside of a transformer. And there's a couple sense wires, I'm assuming, coming off that coil. Because after all, this would be a coil, and you would, I guess, through inductance, that's how this thing reads. I'm pretty sure that's the way it works. There's actually a couple micro switches in here, which is kind of nice. Under that crusty duct tape over here, we could see that there are some components on the back here, just kind of, again, bodged on. And if I look carefully, it looks like, yes, there is some corrosion on those terminals in there. It actually ate through the wire. So I'm going to have to maybe put a meter to this one, see if that has any kind of connectivity, using the continuity meter, and tone that out and see if anything's actually working right. Because those terminals in the back there are pretty shot, as you can see. And I tried scraping that off a little bit with a screwdriver, and yeah, they may have to be, like I said, either replaced, or I'll have to use some kind of chemical or electrolysis process. I'm not really sure if I can even do anything like that. I have to do the research on it. And yeah, this thing is quite crazy looking inside. I'm really curious what the other one looks like, but I can't get into it. I'll have to definitely try again. Also, there's all these trim pots on here, which you could use to calibrate this, but it makes me wonder how calibrated is it now. So I guess ultimately trying to clean the battery terminals on these and seeing if they work is going to be the way to go. I will mention, this is one of those plastic trays. You get one of those, like either microwave or oven kind of meals in, and of course they're recyclable, but the pyramid is reduce, reuse, recycle, and right now this is reusing. And anytime you can get your hands on one of these, it's always great. Just wash it out as long as it comes clean on you, like this one did. It's great to put these parts in while you're working on it. And you can just put it in that bin, everything stays nice. You can keep it off camera like that, like I am, and go on to the next piece without having to worry about those parts getting everywhere. Plus, when you're working on it, you can keep it underneath it and it will catch any pieces that fall out, which is nice. I have a bunch of those that come in very handy. Or like one of the other videos I did with the tool, you can use it to soak parts in, and then you can clean it out when it's done, obviously, and then when it gets too filthy, you just throw it away. I'm going to go ahead and give this one another fighting chance, and if I can't get in there, I'm going to just clean the batteries, the battery terminals. Now what I'm using is this scratch pen set. I got this from the iFixit store, like a lot of my newer tools have come from. This is the 3-piece set, obviously. One of these here is the steel brush, which is what this one is here. I've used this before on a project and it seems like it worked really well. So I'm going to go ahead and scrub all the terminals down with this brush here and see if we can get them clean. By the way, in case you're wondering, the other two in here, one's the brass one, which is the yellow, and the red one is a fiberglass brush. So I'll actually put a link in the description to where I did a little review of these if you want to watch that. But let me go ahead and take care of this and see what we come up with. Alright, well, it goes without saying, just when you're trying to do something and you want to go the way you want, it never does. I did get the terminals a little cleaner than they were, and I looked around for some AAA batteries, and I don't have any. So this is going to be one of those videos that's going to turn into a part 2, I guess, where I'll come back and this will be what I come back to. Getting this operational, either that or opened up. But I can still work on the other one. So what I will do is, again, come back when hopefully maybe I get the battery cleaned up, the battery terminals cleaned up in that one. Alright, unfortunately I wasn't even able to put a dent on this. That stuff's really bad. You can't even scrape it off, like I said, with a screwdriver, and the wire brush, of course, didn't do much good. I can try, if I want, using a Dremel tool and scrubbing it off that way, but it doesn't seem like it's going to work to me. The other thing is, I did try putting batteries in here just for ha-has, since I had them, to see what would happen, and of course, obviously, nothing happened. The corrosion's that bad, it's not even letting it conduct electricity. Either that or the meter's just shot. So with that, I'm going to have to do a part 2 in this. I'm going to have to come back after I do some more research as how I can remove this. Either, like I said, some chemical process or through electrolysis, or the combination of both, or whatever. Or just manually scrub it off, or whatever the case is going to be. And I'm also going to have to come to the other meter, the 1250 model, and see if I can figure out how to get that guy apart. I've already went ahead and put it back in the leather case it came with. So with that, I'm going to say thanks for watching the video. I will put a link in the description to part 2 and some kind of annotation in the video in one of the corners here. Of course, once I get that up and running. I wanted to do as much as this project tonight, and I have another video I want to shoot directly after this, obviously both for Tuesday, this being Sunday night. And I only have so much time now. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll see you guys next time on part 2 for this particular video, and whatever video would come next after this one. Thanks.